Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Freedom Radio Hour. I'm your host, DJ Adam Cruz, and I have my fantastic co-host right here,
Eddie Nicholas. What up, beautiful people, and welcome to 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sedan, and also dwildmusicradio.com. The best in music, news, and all other wonderful things that go on in the entertainment world. What up, my brother, Mr.
Wow,
Cruz?
I'm in awe of all the slogans you just gave me back to back. I love that. So, like as he said, my brother said so eloquently. Tonight, we're not only giving you fantastic music, but we're here to be your number one source for music business news and trends from around the globe. Let's get right into it.
Yes.
We have to talk about what happened with UMG and Spotify. UMG.
Now, okay, I was going to say, what is UMG?
Yes, UMG. Thank you. UMG is short for Universal Music Group. Okay, right now you're talking about if you're talking about the largest labels in the world currently, we're talking about three: Universal Music Group, known as UMG; Warner Music Group, which is known as WMG, and or rather Warner is really what they call it, and Sony. Those three entities are represent some of the three largest outfits in the world. All right. So what happened now for a few months, Spotify, knowing that they had to re-sign their licensing deals with the labels, all of the labels that they represent, knowing that they had to re-sign this deal, they had to figure out what are they going to do to sweeten the pot. You see, the world around them has realized how much money streaming services like Spotify and all of them make off the backs of music. So when it came to re-upping their licensing deals, you can imagine what Spotify was anticipating. The other thing, too, is that we need to be aware that Spotify is trying to go public in 2018. What does that mean? They're preparing to be an IPO. The initial public offering is what that means. I feel like we're surrounded by acronyms sometimes.
And that means that people like you and me can purchase stock from that company when it goes to open.
So the first thing I was thinking about is, okay, hold up, pump the brakes. So if Spotify is trying to prepare itself to go public and next year, it behooves them to sweeten the pot of their deal. That much is easy to figure out. But my question then became, well, how are these labels going to resign knowing how much money Spotify is making already? Because remember, they boasted their jump from 30 million paid subscribers to 50 million paid subscribers. And you and I, doing our research, realized that there are 125 million subscribers total on Spotify. Why? Because you have 50 million paid and you have 75 million free. Because they are one of the only ones left that provide this free tier. The only other giant conglomerate that's offering a free tier is not even music-based right now. It's YouTube. YouTube is the only other outlet that you can get online for absolutely free, whereas Spotify lets you do this free and premium. Okay, the other thing we want to talk about is for a few years now, they have been trying to figure out how to sweeten the pots around all streaming services. What they've done is they tried little tests and they have failed. Some of the tests include, let's create exclusivity models. Remember exclusivity? That says if you want Eddie Nicholas, he's only available, say, on the Tidal service. If you want Adam Cruz is only available, say, on the Spotify service, right? So that's considered exclusive. Well, when they did the math, all of the streaming outfits realized the return of investment, their ROI, was not quite right for offering this kind of model. So what does that mean for them? They stopped offering that kind of model because they realized that people didn't care that much if things were offered exclusively from one or the other, because somewhere or another, as Eddie always points out, yes, you always say it, you can get it at the click of a button, you can find it somewhere. So they let that go, but now Spotify, in trying to go public, figures, well, let's try this exclusivity thing yet again. But instead of competing with another streaming outfit, let's try to offer this between our premium users and our free users. What does that mean? That they did two things to sweeten the pot in order to license material from UMG again. First of all, they signed a multi-year deal. This multi-year deal will make it very attractive for Spotify to go public. It'll also create a boilerplate agreement. So now that it's been signed with UMG, they're going to offer that same deal to Sony and to Warner. What is this deal? Two things. They have asked that UMG reduce the payments that they pay that they're required, that Spotify is required to pay. Let me say it again. Correct. So the rates that UMG is charging for the use of the music by Spotify, Spotify is asking them to reduce that. So what does that mean for you and I? If you're a UMG artist and their UMG is asking to pay or asking to reduce their rate, that means you and I would get less if we were UMG artists.
Now, based on what you're saying, are they saying that based on them, Spotify bringing in more customers based on what they get from UMG? Because from what I'm hearing, UMG basically gives them permission to use whatever songs that they want to use.
Correct.
Spotify,
and they charge a rate for that.
Spotify gets a rate. They want to change that rate, which is
they want them to discount it.
When they discount that rate, that affects the artist, but it does not more than likely affect their back pocket.
No, it helps their back pocket.
Yeah,
because
it
what they need to do,
their back pocket.
Right, because,
THEIR. There.
Yes, because they're trying to go public, and so they need an influx of cash. So if they have to pay less out to use the music, that it's better for them. The second thing that they wanted to do was that they were willing to offer the premium user the content first. So if a UMG artist has an album, they're saying, well, all right, what we'll do is we'll offer the content
the people
first.
Who have paid for the service.
Yeah, so let's break down more of what that means. Let's take a break right here on the Freedom Radio Hour.
91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan.
Come back with us, we'll tell you more.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
What up, beautiful people? I'm Eddie Nicholas, and I'm so glad that you decided to come back and join us at 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Saban.
You said Saban.
I know Saban. Saban. See,
love it.
Got me going. But anyway, Mr.
You were near perfection before. I'm Adam Cruz, my partner Eddie Nicholas, and we are bringing you our number one source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. You're deep in the zone right here on the Freedom Radio Hour. All right, so we were talking before we broke about this sweet deal that UMG, Universal Music Group, struck with Spotify, one of the biggest streaming services in the world. The deal is for multiple years. UMG has agreed to reduce the rate that they charge Spotify to use their music. Remember, UMG has a roster that includes Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift, Jay-Z, Maroon 5, on and on. They're willing to reduce the rate that they charge Spotify in exchange for Spotify's enacting their premium service. You see, remember we talked about there's 50 million that pay for the service and 75 million that get it for free? Well, what they're saying now is, okay, for doing that, UMG, for reducing your rate, we will offer your albums exclusively on our premium service only. So what does that mean? If you're a free service, you don't get access to that album for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, then that album becomes available to both the premium service and the free service at Spotify. Exactly. Talk about what you're feeling, please, because this is what I feel. You feel what?
Who cares?
Right. Why shouldn't we care about that?
For the mere fact that whenever any music is released, there is going to be some type of promo somewhere letting you know that such and such artist is going to be doing such and such and such and such is going to be released. Unless you are a die-hard super fan, 2 weeks, 4 weeks would not matter, because somewhere along the line, somebody's going to give you a free copy of it. You're going to stumble across a copy of it somewhere, a video of this, a video of that, or a free download here or a free download there. Exclusivity, yes, it may have been nice and sweet in a bygone era, but now it's just a waste of time, and it's another way for these corporations to try to think that you are getting first, and it's another way for them to get into your pocket. How much are they trying to charge for this service? Do you know?
Well, I'm telling you, for the service for Spotify, if you're a premium user, is upwards of $10 to $14 a month.
Okay, so it's still inexpensive. So
relatively, but my thing is this. You touched upon it before in the last segment, which was the artist doesn't get paid what we're already fighting to get more, right? We're trying to get a livable wage, a fairer rate, an increase all throughout on all royalty rates. Why? Because we realize how much these conglomerates are making money hand over fist off the backs of music guys like you and I initially. Now they can go ahead and offer apps, video games, and TV and film because they've been able to build their business off the backs of the musician, the music guys. So what we're saying over and over again is that we want all royalty payouts to increase. What this deal does for many years to come, I don't know the deals, it's just funny. There's two things I couldn't find out before we were able to record today, which is how much the deal is worth and how long the deal lasts. All I've read is that there's no description of the financial gain, but it talks about their subscription base, which we already know. But also, it doesn't make mention how long it's going to last. What is multiple years? 3, 5, 7, 9? I don't know. All I know is that since they had success with UMG, like we mentioned before, Spotify is trying to boilerplate. That means create a template on the agreement. So that same deal, we'll ask you for a reduced rate, Sony. We asking you for a reduced rate, Warner. In exchange, we'll throw in this premium for 2 weeks. To you and I, that doesn't sound valuable at all because we know how much money companies like Spotify, Apple, Tidal, all them make during the premium time when the records first come out. When it first come out, I'm talking Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift's albums first drop. There's so much of a frenzy around it.
It's promo.
That all of the advertisement dollars, can you imagine, like when we talk about the big game in the States or soccer games around the world, and all the commercials are very valuable for that very same argument. That in the time when it's most exciting, the project is really valuable at the advertising level.
And again, with that being said, you see so many of our artists' new songs popping up in said commercials and advertisements prior to the release of their songs. Well, you're already being inundated with the music themselves in the television commercial or the ad.
Exactly. You're very true. And then the other thing is, I keep smelling a rat, which is, I feel like we're missing a bigger point. The bigger point to me is that two things. One, how quick UMG seemed to be, if it only took a matter of a couple of months to reduce their rate. What does that tell me about what they're considered to be the value of the music in their catalog? Number one. Number two, now I'm thinking, okay, so you've done this. You reduced your rate. They're going to try to create a precedence with the other labels. We'll all get more. We'll all get less while y'all get more. Okay, so I'm feeling like, what do we do over time to get more of our dollar back? Because our own labels are looking after themselves. They're not looking after you and I to get more money. They're looking at these kind of partnerships to make more cash. And it bothers me a lot.
Everything is corporation. And again, as I always say, we need to be at that table. We need to take the little dollars that we do have and invest them in those very companies that are doing that very thing.
Well, to your point, you were saying since Spotify is set to go public in 2018, you were saying what?
Find out how much that stock is and buy into that stock.
But I think the other thing we should talk about is what happens now where Spotify's data lists and UMG's data lists, they all go back and forth. You know what's happening now is the biggest winner here is data. Big data is the biggest winner because now they can target to you in an even more effective way because now they have entry into your musical tastes, when you listen to the music, when you don't listen to the music, where you are, how old you are, when are you most able to or apt to buy something. All of these things become very important.
And a lot of that has to do with the new FCC regulations and all of that type of stuff intertwined with the internet. And it's just crazy. You know, I also learned about the FTC.
Yes. Let's take a break. When we come back, let's break down the latest goings on with internet privacy and why this has everything to do with the music business. Right here, where?
91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan and DWmusicradio.com.
Perfection.
Freedom Radio Hour.
And we're back live on Capital Radio, 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan. And on the web at dwildmusicradio.com. You're deep in the zone right here on the Freedom Radio Hour. We're your number one source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. I have to give a shout out to all this fantastic music, and I got to give a special plug to my brother Eddie. It is your birthday month. And
yes,
and we've today and throughout the course of the weeks, we'll be introducing more and more of Eddie's material. We tend to play several of his tunes because we love him so much, but there's more, so stay tuned. Anyhow, let's break down a quick other thing that I want to talk about because you gave me the perfect segue segue. You were talking about the FCC. Here in the States, we have transitioned to a new government, a new president, and with that becomes new rules. We've already discussed in previous episodes how the FCC, that's the Federal Communications Commission, who oversaw the open internet order and net neutrality rules. Now that the head of that, the FCC, his name is Ajit Pai now, and Ajit Pai, being aligned with our current president, has decided that they want to dismantle net neutrality rules that say that there should be rules around internet service providers and what they do once they get deals with other companies. They can't mess up the data transmission on the internet, making things slower for the competition, blocking it, all that kind of stuff. But now with that falling to the wayside, we knew that there was going to be an avalanche of more to come. Recently, our current president had just signed an order to repeal a lot of the internet privacy rules that the Obama administration enacted. What does that mean? Well, up until now, you had to give explicit permission when it came to giving information out about yourself, including your geographic location, your gender, male or female, all of those things. You had to give explicit permission before they were able to take the information, store it, share it, sell it. Up right now with this new repeal that's been enacted, they no longer need our permission to take our information and target it back to us or sell it on. Who would be selling it? Outfits like Comcast, Verizon, and others who can see a large benefit by selling your information. Why? Because advertisers are chomping at the bit to get as much information about you figured out. Because what they do, as we talked about, they create taste profiles on you. When are you going to buy your music, most likely? When are you going to watch TV, most likely? Where are you? All these things. When the kind of money you're willing to spend things on. And so all of that becomes really scary, because up until now, we had some privacy. The other thing that you're allowed to do now, if you're Verizon or Comcast, you can look at our web browsing history. You can look at our app usage history, etc. So this is becoming really, really problematic, because really, at a flick of a switch and a sign of an order, our privacy now is completely jeopardized and fallen to the wayside.
We have fallen really into the world of George Orwell.
I know, it's like 1984, but even like more than that. It's like 1984 on steroids or something. I can't figure it out. But
and we already know that information has always been, especially once technology caught up, has always been accessible. You can really find out information about anybody.
Right.
Criminal, work history, telephone information, all that data is there.
Exactly. And to answer your question from earlier, or your reference from earlier, Ajit Pai made this very interesting argument. He said the FCC that he's in charge of, the Federal Communications Commission, is not the right fit for looking after internet privacy rules. The better outfit to look after such things is not the FCC, Ajit Pai argues, it's the FTC.
But from my understanding, didn't the Trump administration dismantle that program, the FTC?
What the Federal Trade Commission is around, but what Ajit Pai...
in reference to them controlling that portion.
Yes. Well, you have to realize that the overall agenda is to dismantle large departments, not just related to music business news, but related to education and other areas. There is a concerted effort to dismantle departments of education and so on. So when you discuss the FCC and the FTC, these are commissions that are happening now, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to dismantle them over time. This is what's happening today. So Ajit Pai saying, critics of what we're doing don't come from me at the FCC, go to the FTC. They should be the ones doing it. Except you and I, in doing our research, know that that's not really true. You see, the FTC can enforce their guidelines, but they don't have jurisdiction over internet service providers. They already made that implicit in the rules that the FTC was not to meddle in such affairs. So for Ajit Pai to say that's an FTC thing, knowing full well...
When you told them to basically mind your business.
Exactly. You make a rule that makes them mind their business, and now you're saying it's up to them to decide.
Up to them to decide.
So all of this is going to continue to be very massive and very important for us to realize, because all of this is related to the music business. As you see, streaming is the wave of the future right now in terms of the music consumption. So if you want to hear music, you need an internet connection. And if the internet connection is slow or fast, that's all about these rules that are happening around you. That's all the time we have today. We're going to talk more about what's happening with tax credits related to the music business, how it might affect you, and other tools you can employ to really get ahead. I want to talk more about what artists can do to get a better hold of their royalties. We need to take our own advice sometimes when we're trying to be helpful. Let's talk about that in episodes to come. But in the meantime, definitely make it your business to check out EddieNicholas.com for more of his wonderful music, as well as my website, DJAdamCruz.com, for more of mine. And also, place a comment under everything we're posting at FreedomRadioHour.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Capital Radio 91.6 FM and
Eddie Nicholas, 91.6 FM. DSW. Oopsie.
Oh,
Yes, I'm thinking of the shoe store. DYMusicRadio.com. I'm thinking of the shoe store.
I think you got like 1 out of the 3 segments. I'll give you 1. You had a perfect one.